Super cool. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to our celebration of the commencement and conferral of degrees of the class of 2022. On behalf of Chancellor Nancy Cantor, my co-dean Kim Mutcherson, distinguished alumni, faculty, administrators, and staff, I want to express my tremendous joy in welcoming all of you today to celebrate this important achievement with you. And here, I want to stress with you, because we are here in person for the first time in more than 2 years together, celebrating commencement in the spring. In addition to celebrating the class of 2022, we are here to also celebrate the parents, significant others, loved ones, children, grandparents, and others who are here today. This is also a celebration about you, so welcome to your day as well. And now, please rise for the national anthem, which will be sung by Floriana Hyun, a 2013 graduate of Rutgers Business School, Newark, and the Newark College of Arts and Sciences.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. My name is Rose Cruz Quizan Villazor, and I am the co-dean of Rutgers Law School at Newark. It is my pleasure to introduce members of the platform party. First, Chancellor Nancy Cantor, Chancellor of Rutgers University, Newark. Co-dean Kim Mutcherson, the dean at Camden location of the law school. The Honorable Alvin Bragg, New York County District Attorney, and our speaker for today. Vice Dean Anju Gupta. Professor David Trout, faculty speaker. Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Caroline Young. Ms. Argenta Caba, student speaker. Dean of Students, Sarah Regina. Mr. Robert Friedman, Board of Trustees. Professor Ron Chen, Gonfalonier and Chair of the Scholastic Standing Committee. Professor Doug Eakley, Faculty Hooder. Professor Sabrina Safran, Faculty Hooder. Ms. Naomi Barraclough, President of the Alumni Association. Also present on the stage this morning are faculty and deans of Rutgers Law School. This is my first commencement at Rutgers Law School as the interim co-dean. One of the benefits of being the dean is the honor of addressing graduates at commencement, as well as assigned parking. What an honor it is today to be able to address you at your commencement. Commencement is, as you know, the day when one's degree is officially conferred and diplomas are handed out. Many of you today are, of course, happy and perhaps relieved that law school has ended. You are done. But today is not the end of your legal education. The word commencement comes from the French word commencier, which means to begin. Today, in fact, marks the start of a new phase in your life. After today, you would have earned your Juris Doctor. Your JD gets to be written down next to your name. And when you take the bar exam this July, an exam for which you will study and you will pass, you will apply to get admitted to a state bar and get your law license. In other words, today commences the day in which you are just a stone's throw away from achieving your dream of becoming a lawyer. Earning your JD, and I want to emphasize that you have earned this JD, has not been easy. The past few years have been filled with multiple challenges. And I'm not just talking about learning the rules and laws and doctrines, such as the rule against perpetuities. I'm a property professor. Sorry for those who are not lawyers, but these graduates know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, come see me after commencement. But I am talking about other events that surrounded you while you were in law school. Think back to a few years ago to your law school orientation in August. For most of you today who are in the full-time program, that was August of 2019. For those of you in the part-time program, that was in the fall of 2018. Who would have thought that by spring 2020, the world would experience a lockdown and your legal studies would continue the next year remotely? Many of you had to move back home to your homes, hopefully welcomed by your parents and families, who also ended up getting a Rutgers Law School education through Zoom for free. Dean Walton, I think we might have to charge tuition to some of these folks. I'm kidding. In addition to the global pandemic, you, like the rest of the country, experienced many other challenges. You witnessed the murder of George Floyd and other Black people. We heard about the insurrection. There was domestic terrorism against African Americans, Asian Americans, and other people of color. Increased anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, threats to the rights of LGBTQ individuals, immigrants, and as a recent leaked opinion of the Supreme Court portends, there are threats to the rights of women. This is the time for you to be lawyers. We need you out there. But the last few years, have not been easy for you, graduates, and yet you adapted, you were resilient, you persevered. Despite the obstacles you encountered the last few years, you showed up. In class, you raised your hand and strived to learn not only what the law is, but what the law should be. You served as teaching assistants and peer mentors to other law students. Many of you participated in clinics and represented immigrants, children, people with disabilities, older Americans, and many other marginalized groups. You participated in externships with judges, prosecutors, public defenders, and nonprofit organizations. Collectively, you devoted more than 7,000 hours of pro bono services to people who could not afford a lawyer. 7,000. The world needs to watch out because nothing stopped you from finishing your legal education and achieving your dream of becoming a lawyer. No doubt in the past few years you have learned many lessons, and here I hope to highlight 3 of them. First, there is power in speaking. Many who are not lawyers think that lawyers like to talk, love to talk. But we know that that is not necessarily true. Fear of public speaking is thought to affect 70% of the population, and that includes many lawyers. But you have learned that there is power in speaking. Indeed, there is an obligation to speak, to unmute, share your voice and perspective. Whether that is for a client or a legal opinion or a dissenting one, speak up and share your voice and perspective. Know that speaking up is an act of power. Don't let anyone take that power away from you. Second, it is important to have hope. There may be times in the next few months, especially as you are studying for the bar, or in the next few years when you have a case that is not going well, that you might feel like giving up. But if the past few years taught you anything, it is to have hope. That life is about challenges and obstacles, and it's necessary to have hope. That sense of optimism will guide you through the hard times and help you achieve. For to have hope is to be brave. Third and last, you must welcome change. Many of us, type A personalities, like our routines, our schedules, for things to stay the same. But we've learned that change is inevitable, and that's okay. We must welcome it, because you can change your routine, schedule, and way of doing things. Do not be afraid of change. Change is necessary for a growth mindset. Let me end with where I first started. I said that today your commencement is the beginning of a new day, for you are indeed one step closer to becoming a lawyer. But I am sure you know this. Your legal education does not end here. As a lawyer, learning about the law is an ongoing honor and responsibility, indeed a lifelong journey. And in that lifelong journey, remember that we at Rutgers Law School will continue to be here for you. Congratulations, class of 2022. I will now call up to the podium Dean Sarah Regina, who will introduce our student speaker. Dean Regina.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, graduates. Welcome, loved ones. It's good to see you all. I am pleased to introduce this year's student speaker, Argenta Caba. Argenta is a graduate of Montclair State University, and she served as an articles editor of the Rutgers University Law Review. As a teaching assistant in legal analysis, LARS, as we call it, legal analysis research, writing and research, a teaching fellow in criminal law, and importantly, she was selected as today's speaker by you. I had the distinct honor of working quite a bit with Argenta over the last few years, and I am truly, truly thrilled to hear her words today. I'm sure they will be an inspiration. She's a community builder, and in a time where community was somewhat hard to find over the last few years, she led with professionalism. She led with kindness, and I am proud of her. So, Argenta, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dean Sarah Regina and Dean Quithon Viazor. Welcome, distinguished faculty, staff, family, friends, and graduates. My name is Argenta Kaba, and it is truly an honor to be speaking today on behalf of the class of 2022. But I'd like to begin by setting the record straight. Yes, I am your class speaker, but please make no mistake. I am not speaking because I am class valedictorian. Sorry, Mom and Dad. Nor am I student body president. And while I was an articles editor of the Law Review, I was an editor-in-chief. No, those accolades belong to my classmates. The most fitting title that landed me on this stage is extrovert. I probably spent more time these past 3 years chatting with all of you in the law school atrium than I did in the library. But instead, I had the pleasure of getting to know all of you, to learn about who you are, where you came from, and where you will go after today. It allowed me to build long-lasting relationships with such a brilliant, diverse, and passionate group of law students who have worked tirelessly over these past few years, and I'm so proud to be a member of this remarkable class. Today, we are celebrating the class of 2022. We celebrate the culmination of years of hard work, countless hours reading, many sleepless nights, and often having to tell our family and friends, sorry, I can't, I'm studying. But being a law student goes beyond studying and outlining. So today we also celebrate our accomplishments that exceed the classroom. The law school experience looks different for everyone sitting here today. All of the additional roles, responsibilities that we took on to better ourselves, each other, the Rutgers law community, and our local surrounding communities. And I want to use this opportunity to highlight just how involved, accomplished, and unique our class is. So, for one last cold call, members of the graduating class, if you'll please join me, raise your hand if you participated in any of the following. If you were a member of a student organization, if you were on a journal, if you were on the moot court board, mock trial, appellate, or alternative dispute resolution team, or competed in any of these competitions, raise those hands high. If you completed any pro bono or public interest work, if you interned or externed during law school, if you worked part-time during law school, if you're a member of the minority student program, if you were a research assistant, if you were a teaching assistant, if you were a clinical law student, and now raise your hand if you did all of this during a global pandemic. I say all of this because as law students, we often fail to give ourselves credit for what we do. Law school is historically one of the most challenging and demanding academic experiences a person can go through. We were just second semester 1Ls when we went home for spring break in March 2020 and didn't return for a year and a half. Put simply, law school is hard enough, and we did it during a pandemic. I can confidently say, if we can do that, we can do just about anything. But we didn't do this all on our own, and we would not have made it this far without the support of those around us. So first, we want to say thank you to all our distinguished faculty and staff for your immeasurable support these past 3 years, and for making us feel connected to the Rutgers community despite our distance learning. Personally, I want to express my warmest thanks to Professors Barbara Hoffman and Sabrina Safran, and Deans Beth Acevedo and Sarah Regina. As the first in my family to graduate college and law school, learning and connecting with experienced, brilliant, and kind women like you has affected me more than you know. Next, our most sincere appreciation goes to our family, friends, and loved ones for their patience while we embarked on this wild law school ride. Law school isn't just hard on the students, it takes a toll on our families, and your understanding and support gave us the encouragement and motivation to keep going. I know I could not have done this without the support of my mom, my dad, and my brother. Without fail, my mom would pop her head into my office every single night and would ask me these same two questions. Janta, are you going to bed soon? And I would answer, no, Mom. And then she would ask, you still have a lot of work left to do? And I would just say, yes, Mom. And I'm sure these questions will continue during these next 2 months of bar prep and well into my big law job this fall. Finally, I want to say thank you to all of you for making these past 3 years truly unforgettable. Law school is hard. Virtual law school is even harder. But then I think of our Zoom calls that would literally last for hours and hours. And I think about coming back this September and planning the Barristers Ball with so many of you for a semester and a half. And then I look around and see all of us here together today, and it makes every second of the past 3 years worth it. Together, we have laughed and we've cried. We sometimes laughed at each other for how much we were crying. We have shared successes together, and we have supported each other when we were down and needed it most. We have made friendships that will last a lifetime. Watching those hands raised earlier is a reminder that each of us define success differently. But no matter how we define success, we must not be too hard on ourselves. Some of us might work in public interest, others in corporate law, and some in government and politics. But no matter where our legal career takes us, we are entering a demanding profession where we will face challenges, obstacles, and we might often feel like we are not enough or we are not doing enough. But graduates, you should truly be so proud of yourselves. And please remember to celebrate your accomplishments. Be proud of the work you have done and be excited about all the work that is still left to do. Never forget to celebrate how special each of you are. Today we celebrate the class of 2022. Thank you and congratulations on a job well done.
Argenta, you have to come back up here. This is to present Argenta Caba in appreciation for the address delivered to the Rutgers Law School class of 2022, May 20, 2022. I'm a little bit shorter because they took away my little podium. So it is now my pleasure to ask Dean Caroline Young to come up here and introduce our faculty speaker. Dean Young.
Congratulations, class of 2022. It is my pleasure to introduce this year's faculty speaker, Professor David Trout, a graduate of Stanford University and Harvard Law School. Professor Trout is the founding director of the Rutgers Center on Law, Inequality, and Metropolitan Equity. At the law school, he is a formidable teacher of courses on race, class, and legal structure, intellectual property, torts, and critical legal theory. Please join me in welcoming Professor Trout.
Thank you so much. Wow. It is my sincere privilege to speak to you all today on your departure from law school. I'll tell you, for 26 years, I've been saving up what I wanted to tell a graduating Rutgers class. To tell you a few things I forgot to tell you in class. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity that you've given me to celebrate a proud and hard-won moment with you and your families. And when I say hard-won, I mean it. Because I taught many of you torts in the first semester of your first year, I was a witness to how you first encountered the challenge of your choice to become a lawyer. I saw how you went from excitement to confusion to exhaustion, to a nascent mastery that over time would become confidence and direction. I saw you go from caring so much to not caring that much. Remember in the beginning when you were fresh and ready and didn't know? I'd ask you questions about a case and you would answer with, the truth. You were really stuck on this truth, as if the question required you to discern some unwavering and irrefutable gospel, as if there were only one answer. You came into law school assuming that legal conflicts would be resolved in moral ways, that they would be guided by shared fundamental ideas about what is good and right and fair. And from the very start, I had to disabuse you of this notion. Remember that? Remember how I would say, it's analysis we want, not truth. The truth is whatever the most persuasive analysis yields. The analysis was governed by a sequential framework that we had to learn to use together. Analysis, not truth. We had no choice but to learn the framework for analysis that was given us. Now, some of you looked cross-eyed at me at that, but most of you accepted it as a lesson worth paying tuition for. And I want you to know that this analysis, not truth thing was not some cynical postmodern trope that I like to try out on unsuspecting one-else, that there's no such thing as truth, only competing truths like competing facts. No. Instead, it was an invitation to a way of thinking about problems for which there are often many compelling sides. The phrase, analysis, not truth, was part of learning to think like a lawyer. And I thought it had a nice ring to it. Do you remember one of our first cases, Fisher versus Carousel Motor Hotel? So this case involved a battery upon a black man, Plaintiff Fisher. There's some remembrance, He was an engineer, a young professional. He was invited to come to an aerospace conference in Texas. It was 1967. And during the lunch break, he was standing in the buffet line holding a plate. He was hungry. As he waited to be served lunch with all the other young professionals, an angry hotel manager came up and yelled at him, told him in front of everybody to get out of the line. They didn't serve black people. The manager was so invested in this rule of exclusion, it meant so much to him that he forcibly dispossessed Fisher of the plate and made him leave. He didn't hit Fisher, he didn't push Fisher, but he snatched the plate right out of his hands. And that's when Fisher became Plaintiff Fisher and successfully sued the employee and the hotel for battery. Fisher and the plate had briefly become one. To touch the thing was to trespass against the person. We learned that day about the power of the legal imagination. We learned that a battery is a violation of this wonderful thing called a dignitary interest that protects each of us in our person and our name and our peace of mind. The dignitary interest is more than respect, more than tolerance for another person's autonomy. It is the inviolable essence of who we are, as well as who we can be, our present and our potential selves. If people are lucky enough to afford legal services, they can sue for invasions of their dignity. Even black people, even in Texas, even in 1967. But it took 3 courts to reach that reckoning, and Plaintiff Fisher was paid a few $1,000s. Now, at the time, many of you thought the truth was obvious. Racism grabbed the plate from Plaintiff Fisher. Plaintiff Fisher was a victim of racism. Why didn't the first court just say that? Well, that may be some version of the truth, but it was not the available analysis in the case. That analysis relied on the law's more fundamental recognition of human dignity contained in the rationale for a battery claim. So it was analysis that won that case, not the truth. Now, many of you will wind up in jobs where the analysis versus truth distinction is readily apparent. Analysis will conquer truth all day long, like the interpretation of what's covered in a licensing agreement, or whether a statute allows for a private right of action, the quantum of evidence required to prove compliance, to whom the proceeds of a dissolved partnership belong. Lots of analysis that points to a conclusion that is more likely than not, or not clearly erroneous, or beyond a reasonable doubt. Fine. But some of you will practice in jobs where you struggle a little more. Analysis without a sense of truth may tug at you and leave you dissatisfied. Should this mother permanently lose parental rights to her child? Is the criminal charge against this juvenile the correct one, even if it almost certainly means a life in and out of prisons? What kind of housing stability should people be entitled to? These are questions that go to truths so personal that they seem to transcend mere analysis. The problem is not merely the absence of a shared sense of truth. The problem is law's disregard for an interest in dignity. The dignitary interest has gone out of legal fashion. It's still recognized as protecting a right to privacy against being put in a false light, being defamed, or being the intended victim of emotional distress. Yet dignity deserves more than a small corner of the law. It needs a fresh framework for analysis. Which brings us to the question that confronts you today. How do you leave here and practice law with dignity? That's what the next 30 or 40 years will demand. Practicing with dignity will help you feel fulfilled and fuel you to do this hard work. Practicing without dignity may burn you out and leave you feeling lost. Many of you will try to do it by being the advocate for the dignity of others. You'll safeguard their dignity, like Plaintiff Fisher's lawyers did. You'll share vicariously in their victories. But how do you do that if the law leaves dignity out? I want to revisit Fisher versus Carousel, knowing that many of you didn't read that case in your torts class and may not have studied battery. But nevertheless, let's travel back to that food line for a minute to think about practicing law with dignity. What if instead of a black engineer, your client is standing with other pregnant women in line for prenatal care options? What if the plate associated with her dignity was instead the reproductive truth inside her own womb? What if she were loudly singled out for expulsion, the choice to do as she believed with her own pregnancy snatched away not by one man but by many? How then does a lawyer safeguard dignity? Or what if your clients were standing in a line of asylum seekers at the Texas border, waiting for a hearing, the plate associated with their dignity, a knapsack, and their IDs? What if the most powerful people on earth wanted to snatch them out of that line and make them disappear, to go back where they came from without a hearing, or detain them indefinitely? What if instead they snatched their children from them, and their small children screamed as they disappeared behind the large bodies of uniformed men? How does a lawyer safeguard their dignity? Or what if the line was a soup kitchen, and your client was an unhoused veteran holding a plate, but day after day, and nobody wanted to snatch the plate? They just didn't want to help him get his own plate and get out of that line once and for all. What would you do? Suppose you were a few people behind these people, watching it happen. Sometimes we're in the moment, but other times we're witnesses to it. What do you think you would do to resolve the conflict? Would it be different today than it was 3 years ago? How can you bring all this law to bear upon the problem and solve it? I don't know either. I know that there are many sad truths for which there are few, if any, persuasive analyses. And hiding at the root of these truths are dignitary interests, aren't they? Even if we don't recognize them as such, dignity seems truly implicated. The Texas Supreme Court held in Fisher versus Carousel that personal dignity is the essence of a claim for battery. But the validation of Fisher's personal dignity relied on the existence of a touching. If he is not touched, he is not violated. That seems a little facile. Violence certainly traffics in indignity, even when we call it crime. Last Saturday in Buffalo, the 10 souls in a supermarket whose lives were shattered by military-grade bullets were dignified souls. The law may convict their racist, terrorist assailant, but it will not, cannot address the dignitary interests of their friends, neighbors, and coworkers. These people lived in a segregated neighborhood of a segregated city, where urban renewal programs and federal highway planning in the 1950s and 60s and 70s carved official divisions through the heart of communities like it, where relocation plans and school district lines defined legal borders, where for decades supermarkets did not even exist. That is where the terrorist man-child found them. It is not hard to find them there because that is where they were supposed to be. They were put there long ago and they remain there today, which is the result of hundreds of daily indignities, official policies and unofficial practices, almost all legal, none interested in the dignitary interests of the people affected, but not physically touching them, until hate came hunting for any one of them. See how hard it is to commit to analysis when it seems to come at the expense of the broader truth? I could have used countless examples of senseless violence against Asian women, of horrific ambushes of synagogues. I could leave race out of it entirely. We have economic dignity that is regularly invaded by policies that impoverish and destabilize. We have political dignity that is strategically diminished by democratic means. We have a shared environmental dignity that is compromised by power. Dignitary harms are only occasionally acts of individual violence. We know that there are many systemic indignities, most without an offensive touching, that routinely invade our interests in human dignity, yet escape legal analysis. And this is because most of our relationships to our work, to our homes, to our finances, to our health, and to each other implicate our dignitary interests. Yet when people are left injured, sometimes irreparably so, when their dignity is targeted, it is as if they had no personhood worthy of legal recognition. This is why we need you. The lack of legal analyses to address directly the broad spectrum of human dignity is a problem. A world in which there is only analysis, one after another, contradicting its terms, canceling its concerns, denying its assumptions, recreating facts without a sense of truth, that's a problem. For voting rights, for bodily integrity and a woman's right to choose, for academic freedom, for equality of opportunity. These are good ideas, contested ideas, with underlying truths that we thought we understood, and today they are being turned on their heads like so many outdated reckonings. About half of our time together at Rutgers Law School was disrupted by a deadly and frightening pandemic. It separated us from each other and challenged us to create a sense of community in new and unfamiliar ways. Beyond our Zoom classes, COVID revealed how easily thousands of people succumbed to the virus merely because they were essential workers and had to work, or because they lived 3 to a room in 2 rooms, or because they were afraid to get tested or didn't know where, or were taught after a lifetime of doctor visits that their bodies were not to be treated with dignity. We were all changed by that. Many of us in this room suffered terrible losses. And yet as a nation, emerging from the undeniable truth of 1 million loved ones lost, we still cannot live by rules of mutual dignity. We still lack a framework of analysis. This is why we need you. We need you to practice law with dignity, especially for others. We need you to find creative ways to revive our dignitary interests, to lift up our common humanity, even if you're counseling hedge funds, or negotiating construction contracts, or litigating insurance claims. Did I tell you that Fisher versus Carousel was a test case? It all really happened, but creative lawyers wanted to try a new analysis. We need you to come up with your best new analyses. We may even need you to do battle for truth. Now, protecting the dignity of others is an important thing that lawyers do. But the task of practicing with dignity, a task that will now consume you for decades, is not just about others. It is also very much about you. And the question is, in the challenging career that you have chosen, how do you safeguard your own dignity? Let's go back to the buffet line one last time. Because this time, you are Fisher, new, hoping to be taken seriously, in line with others, holding on to that plate, hungry. You have been invited to be there at the start of your career. And even before some angry person comes out of nowhere to remove you, you may wonder if you belong. Some of you may hear the angry voice inside your own head that you are an imposter, get out, or that the system of rewards and privileges does not really include you. Stigmatized, problematized, infantilized. Some of you may simply question your own confidence. Or maybe you're in a different line, an elite line, a line for well-paid people who are never wrong, the VIP line, where you see no one who looks like you, where you feel nothing but judgment from the backs in front of you and the faces behind. You're alone in this line, holding that plate, hoping that assignment reads well, that your brief needed no more editing, worried that your voice will tremble during that deposition, concerned that you have not read enough sources or confused an issue or will be outworked. You just aren't sure. Careful. Be very careful with that. There are moments in our careers when we snatch the plate from ourselves, when we step out of lines we belong in because we hear hostile voices that are not there, voices we have internalized. We put down the plate. We have analyzed the problem, and the problem is us, so we don't try. Well, I have a confession to make. It's not all analysis. Sometimes it really is truth. Today is truth. You represent a tradition in which the truth of a diverse human dignity leads the analysis rather than follows it. You in your cap and gowns have traveled this difficult road. You are truth. There is no denying you, your families, your parents' love, the love from others who worked quietly, sometimes through tears and difficult hours, and maybe not being paid what they're worth or not sure if what you needed they could afford. All of that is truth. There is nothing but truth to the discovery that you could figure certain things out, that you could fit the pieces together in your head and rise above your fears. There is absolutely no argument, no question, no issue to be made that you have every single right to be here today. You are the truth. Your life is a true life. You will live true questions in order to grow into a career that matters. Your strides and accomplishments will be truly yours. Your losses and missteps will also be yours, but they will only represent a truth about the lawyer that you are still becoming. And all of this has been true since the day you walked in here. All of this has been the truth of your power, not power waiting to happen, but power that has been happening all along. Today, we just get to put on robes and celebrate its beauty together. But make no mistake, the dream is now real. It's real because you made the dream real. And what it means, my friends, is that you do not practice with dignity. You practice dignity every day until you're out of days. Your dignity will be tested. If you think it was tested here, the tests that await you are another thing coming. The hotel manager will come for your work. He may put others unfairly in front of you, and there will be others happy to step in front of you. She may ignore your presence, or not credit your ideas, or degrade your work behind your back, or simply miss the truth of your brilliance so that it misses its opportunity to shine. And what will you do? You'll rely on your truth, That's what you'll do. You are in that place, in that line, doing that hard work because you were loved very deeply by the people in this room and by others who could not be here. You're a participant because you knew you could be and you worked hard to be invited. You're here because other people sacrificed so you could be here. You're here because other people did everything in their power to keep you out. Nevertheless, here you are, ready to get to work, practicing with dignity for others, yes, but first and foremost for yourself. Remember, we need you. We know what you're made of, and we need the faith in the truth that is you. Yes, we do. So, class of 2022, friends, it sure has been one of life's great pleasures to know you. Thank you all for sharing in the buffet line that is Rutgers Law School. I hope you had all you could eat. We've enjoyed quite a meal together, and pretty soon you will line up, hungry and ready, to hold that diploma in your hands. I wish you, we wish you, a career of unimagined discoveries, grand moments and genuine successes. May your tragedies be small and your resilience huge. I hope you surprise yourself with what you can do and that you get to do it for a very long time. I'll close by offering just a few words of advice. Hold on to your plate and let no one move you out of your rightful place. Good luck. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Trout. This is an appreciation for the address delivered to the Rutgers Law School class of 2022. I will now call upon, up to the podium, Professor Laura Cohen, who will introduce our Convocation speaker. Professor Cohen, Distinguished Clinical Professor of Law and Justice Virginia Long Scholar, serves as Director of the Criminal and Youth Justice Clinic and is establishing the law school's first Innocence Project. Professor Cohen served on Mr. Bragg's Transition Committee, specifically the Free the Wrongfully Convicted Subcommittee. Professor Cohen.
Thank you, Dean. I wish you all could be up here seeing this site. You are beautiful. I'm looking at Rachel's gorgeous smile right there. I'm so excited to be here with all of you. Congratulations. So it is an honor and an absolute joy to introduce our Convocation speaker, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. In her crucial book, Charged, The New Movement to Transform American Prosecution and End Mass Incarceration, Emily Bazelon writes that somewhere along the way, the balance of power between the prosecution, the defense, and the judiciary shifted. We have to readjust it. The stakes are so high, the well-being of so many communities and the trajectories of so many lives are implicated that public safety depends on our collective faith in fairness and our view of the law as legitimate. No one understands and embodies those words better or is more committed to the principles they convey than District Attorney Bragg. Across his 2 decades of public service, he has fought on behalf of the powerless to achieve that often most elusive of goals, justice. His biography is in your programs. I'm not going to repeat it, but here are just a couple of highlights. He is a son of Harlem. He lives there still with his family. He's a graduate of Harvard College and Harvard Law School. He began his career as an assistant United States attorney in Manhattan, and later had a long and illustrious career with the Attorney General's office in New York, where among many other things, he led a pioneering study on stop and frisk that contributed mightily to the undoing of stop and frisk policies by the NYPD. He later served as the Deputy Attorney General for the entire state, where he oversaw some of the office's biggest cases, and immediately before being elected the first African-American District Attorney of Manhattan, he was a visiting professor and co-director of the Racial Justice Project at New York Law School, where he did some work that was near and dear to my heart in the clinical realm, and among many other things, represented Gwen Carr, Eric Garner's mother, in a transparency lawsuit against the city to ensure that the details relating to her son's death at the hands of police were made available to the public. DA Bragg won his current seat in a landslide victory in November 2021, and from the very beginning, and really even before that, has proceeded to change that office, to transform that office in a way that is in keeping with that elusive goal of justice. Alvin Bragg has spent his career in an unrelenting effort to confront the threat that overhangs us all of injustice, and we are so fortunate to have him join us today. Please join me in giving him the warmest welcome.
Good morning. Oh, I love it. I love an interactive crowd. I'm a little overwhelmed right now. The energy in the room is great. I do want to start by acknowledging your great chancellor, your illustrious deans, the distinguished faculty who I've had a chance to hang out with this morning, the guests, the family, the loved ones, but first and foremost, the graduates. Congratulations. I thank you all for allowing me to share in this momentous occasion with you, and I thank Professor Cohen for that gracious and kind introduction. So I've been sitting there for the last 15 minutes thinking, oh, I got to follow those two great speakers. Argenta, who I've just sat next to and gotten to know, but she was described as a community builder, and I feel like she displayed all of that in the graduation speech, bringing all of you in by having you show your accomplishments. I thought that was beautiful. And then listening to Professor Trout, I feel like I deserve some Rutgers law school credit. I feel like I learned so much, and I'm going to bottle that up and take that back to the ADA's analysis, truth, and dignity. So that was the first thought I had as I listened to them. But the second is that I may be the only outsider in this room. I was sitting here thinking, unlike the graduates, I haven't read a single case that would move me towards a graduation. Unlike the professors, I haven't imparted wisdom like Professor Trout did today. Unlike Argenta's mom, I haven't opened any doors and poked my head in and say, you know, a word of encouragement. And I think that gives me a somewhat unique and objective perspective to just take a moment to pause and step back and say what I've learned in one short morning. You all are extraordinary. This is a phenomenal community. With love and fellowship, truth, analysis, and dignity, and just a warmth that I can only imagine must have really been needed these past 3 years, which, as many others have said, have been so challenging. So given that, it won't surprise you that my kind of message for the morning comes from you. In your great dean's invitation to me to come speak this morning, she said I was invited because of my achievements and my identities. And that made me a choice to speak with you. And I, when I was reading the invitation, was really seized on the word identities, plural. I hadn't really thought about it in quite that way. But all of us have multiple identities, personal and professional, those we choose and those we inherit. And together, those many identities make up our whole selves. And so I'll start with the conclusion. The message is very basic. Be yourself. We've heard a couple other speakers talk about how we need you in the law. That is certainly true right now. And I just want to underline the you. We need you. We need all of you. We need your many identities. And I'm imploring you as you embark upon your legal careers to bring your whole self to the practice of law. Your messy, overlapping, sometimes contradictory identities, it will make the law better and you'll be fulfilled. And I don't know if anyone else here has any messy, contradictory personalities, but I'll just share what I mean. This morning I woke up and my identity as a parent. I was supposed to make my son his eggs and bacon for breakfast, which I do every morning. I looked at the clock and that conflicted with my identity as Manhattan DA, who was supposed to give a commencement speech. So I needed a pinch hitter to make that breakfast. So that's what I mean. Our many, sometimes intention identities, we're trying to do it all, we're trying to be it all. I found, and I'm just speaking from my own experience, there's a temptation to kind of try to collapse those in, and you're a lawyer now, you're about to be a lawyer, and let the lawyerliness overtake some of those other identities. Don't let it happen. The law exists to serve people. It can only produce fair and just outcomes if the application of the law reflects the extravagantly diverse range of all of your human experiences. And I am particularly happy to talk about this subject here in this institution, given its history. As you all know, one of the hallmarks of Rutgers Law is its commitment to diversity. An early leader in admitting women and students of color, and then those students in turn shaping the identity of a school committed to advancing social justice. Going back to the 60s and the 70s, students and faculty profoundly influencing civil rights law, tenants' rights, family law, the rights of the accused, consumer protection, and a host of other areas affecting the poor and the marginalized. So in many ways, I'm just holding up a mirror of the letter that invited me to speak and of the history of the school, saying to be yourself. Bring your entire identities to the practice of law. You will make the law better, and you will be more fulfilled, I respectfully submit. So as you approach the end of your law school journey, remember why you started it. Maybe you're passionate about tenants' rights because your family was evicted, or a neighbor or a loved one was evicted. Maybe you want to work on domestic violence because a friend or a family member is a survivor. Maybe you're interested in immigration law because a friend you grew up with is undocumented. Or maybe you always liked hiking and fishing, drawn to the outdoors, and in law school that drew you to environmental law. Remember those passions. As lawyers, you'll have the professional experience and expertise to pursue those passions. But remember that being a lawyer is just one part of you. Don't let the identity of a lawyer overtake the many other identities that have brought you to this place in time. So I'll talk first about my identities, and then I won't be as good as our student speaker at involving others, but we'll maybe raise some questions about some of your identities that have brought you to this place. So my identities, it was mentioned, I'm a son of Harlem. I'm a black man. I grew up as a black boy in Harlem in the 80s during the height of the crack cocaine epidemic. Before I turned 21, I had a gun pointed at me 6 times. 3 by police officers when I was doing nothing wrong, and 3 by people who weren't police officers. Those early experiences focused me on the law. They're why I went to law school, to try to puzzle out how I could be in my own neighborhood feeling unsafe, yet there was such kind of militarized force around me intended to protect me. And that's why I went and I looked at both civil rights law and criminal law, ultimately becoming a civil rights lawyer and a prosecutor. 2 identities that people have told me time and time again in my career don't match, that they can't fit together, that I'm some sort of a unicorn. Whereas based on my identities and my early experiences, I can't imagine being a prosecutor without thinking about civil rights law. That's core to my early identity, and I've carried it forward in all the work I've done. And that's what I mean by kind of conflicting and sometimes messy, overlapping identities. Mine, a professional, civil rights lawyer, and a prosecutor. Different a little bit than the dad this morning trying to make the eggs and trying to make it to the graduation, but not so much. We're all always having these multiple identities and shifting and trying to fit them in to a complete whole of our whole self. That's what you've got to bring to the law. And just to carry it forward in my own examples, that means throughout my career when I'm listening to a case, as I've done recently, we've had an uptick in shootings. And I'm sitting, hearing an update about an armed robbery. I initially think about the victim, the person at whom the gun was pointed, and how my office has to offer our vast resources to support that person. And everyone's experience is different, so I don't want to overstep, but I certainly have my mind carry me back to when I had a gun pointed at me. And that drives my work. So too, when I'm presented with a case where we're looking at whether the stop was lawful. The beginning, the precursor to an arrest. Of course, like all of you, I'm thinking about our black letter law and the things I learned in law school. But my mind also goes to when I stopped and the unlawful stops that I experienced that I knew were unlawful before I even went to law school. And so that marriage of early experiences and professional experiences, overlapping, conflicting, they have driven me and I think made me a better lawyer and certainly made me a more fulfilled lawyer, which is why I'm respectfully submitting this framework for your consideration today. And it's not just about our whole selves. It's how we treat those around us. So in my experience, that's the defense lawyer, that's the judge, that's the stenographer, that is the person accused of a crime. Looking at them as I want them to look at me as a whole person. And of course, we're in a law school setting. Whenever I come back to school, I feel a little smarter. And I called last night an assistant district attorney in the DA's office who graduated in 2011. And I asked her, I said, I'm going to Rutgers tomorrow. Tell me, is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret chant? What should I say? What should I do? And she told me, and I've already shared some of this with Professor Cohen this morning, she didn't know Professor Cohen was introducing me. But she proceeded to tell me, and she also did not know this message of whole self, so this is, I think, quite fortuitous. She proceeded to tell me about her third-year clinic with Professor Cohen. And how she was taught to find her client's story, and take that to the prosecutor. And she also said, keep talking and keep saying it until they listen. So a little bit of a practice advice, along with sort of the core message that I heard was tell the story. And knowing that what I was going to say, I heard it as see that client's whole self. And so as you move on from this place, I also want to encourage you to think about some moments in your law school education beyond the black letter law. And I saw all those hands go up in response to the questions about moot court, mock trial, clinics, pro bono hours. And so I feel like I am saying something you've already lived. It was really, really encouraging to my heart as someone who's always trying to recruit and get public interest and government lawyers to see all those hands go up. But talking to that relatively recent, I guess 10 years ago, Rutgers grad made me think about my own third-year criminal defense law clinic. And I was representing a client who had spent the entire weekend in jail for the grave offense of not having his driver's insurance card on him. And all I had to do as a third-year student was show up to the appearance with the insurance card, and then he got to go home. But as a parent, looking back now, I look on him having lost a weekend with his children. As an employer, I think about what he had to say to his employer about having lost that weekend. And I have no clue what law I cited to the judge. I can't remember that, but I remember him as a parent, him as an employee, And then I, in particular, remember, and anyone who's done any indigent work will know what I'm talking about, the smell of the lockup. That was my first time going back and talking to a client. And that smell is the humanness that stayed with me, long beyond. I'd forgotten lots of parts of the story before I talked to the student, now ADA, last night. But that smell and his human life, his whole self, is what stays with me when I think back on it. So you're going to have to hold on to that black letter law. You got to study for the bar, as has been said. The case law is very, very important. But I want to urge you all to think about the little things you'll remember from the last 3 years. What were the humanizing things you learned in law school that maybe struck you a bit differently from some of your classmates based upon your particular identities? Hold on to those humanizing lessons as tightly as everything you've learned about legal research and civil procedure and all the other black letter law. Those humanizing memories will stay with you and will guide you throughout your career. So I want to leave you with just a couple of more vignettes from my experience and then ask you a couple questions about your identities and then wrap up. So I talked about my childhood experiences, and I've now had, I'll use the word benefit, of seeing some of the same occurrences that beset me now through the lens of a parent. So there's been a lot of discussion about COVID, and for me, COVID's framed from two experiences I had with my son. The first, he was 9 at the time, was the beginning of COVID. We were all being encouraged to wear masks. And he came to me and he said, "Dad, I don't want to wear a mask." He's a smart kid. He knows the data. He knows the science. I was a little confused. I said, "What do you mean you don't want to wear a mask?" He said, "Well, I don't want to wear a mask because I don't want anyone to think I'm a robber and shoot me." 9 years old. And having had some of the experiences I had as a youth, I can tell you that my identity as a parent, that struck me harder than anything I'd experienced personally. And then we fast forward to, I want to say near the end of the pandemic, but I'm going to say that aspirationally, to November, I think right after I'd been elected, and I was on a kind of family outing at a museum, got a bunch of texts from my neighbors, and there'd been a very significant shooting on our block. And so we returned home, and the yellow crime scene had taped it off. And for me, that's not foreign to me. I'm used to going to crime scenes professionally. But to return to your home with your entire family, my wife, not just my son and my daughter, and to walk past the yellow tape of a crime scene and sidestep shell casings with teenage children, seeing that through that identity as a parent, a husband, a professional prosecutor, and ultimately someone who was going to be the district attorney for whom that matter would come to my attention. Those two bookmarks on the pandemic, to me, hit hard, and they talk about my many identities, professionally and personally. And I won't do this as well as Argenta, and I won't ask you to raise your hands, but I do want you to think about your experiences, your identities, what inspires you, and how that could inform your work. Did you love playing with gadgets and coming up with ideas for inventions as a kid, and maybe you're now interested in intellectual property? Do you practice a religion that has been discriminated against, and does that draw you to First Amendment practice? Did you grow up with two moms or two dads and get drawn to civil rights law or family law based on that experience? I respectfully submit, if you connect your passions and your identities to your work, you will love your work, and as your faculty members have said, we need you. You will contribute mightily to filling the void of what we need in the law. Do not let anyone to tell you to leave your identities at the door and limit yourself to the four corners of the law. All of your identities are part of your whole self, and we need all of them, particularly right now, to address these moments. Professor Trout mentioned a few of these, what's going on. I wanted to talk about that in closing. In these moments when we have spurious attacks levied on critical race theory, to purge from public education any acknowledgement of the experiences of people of color and how our lives are impacted by systemic racism, or when we have dozens and dozens of bills being introduced across the country attacking voting rights or attacking trans people, seeking to erase people's very existence from the public square. Or then going to Buffalo last week when you've got the great replacement theory being used to challenge who is a legitimate part of our society and who is a dangerous interloper. All of us must stand up, and we must stand up with our full selves. We must all join in a beautiful chorus and say, I too sing America. I too am America. And all of us, in our complexity, in our particularity, in our many identities, are a part of America. All of our experiences should and must be reflected in how the law is interpreted and applied. There is no normal American. There is no neutral default identity. We must contend with the messiness and complexity to make our society fair for everyone. So as you embark on your careers, my hope for you is that you find workplaces where you can remain true to your entire self. And I say if you're in one that's not, try to get out of it as soon as you can. And go somewhere where all of your identities are not just accepted, but celebrated. I wouldn't be a good public employer if I didn't make a plug for the Manhattan DA's office. So always consider us. And I was very encouraged by the hands that went up for the pro bono hours. Obviously, there are financial realities for full-time employment, but I will just say as someone who has spent, I graduated law school in 1999, I practiced private law for 3 years, the rest has been in government or in the academy, and I think my pockets may be lighter for it, but my heart is fuller. And so I humbly recommend that you spend as much time as possible pursuing your passions wherever they may be, and I hope for many of you that will be in the public service. But wherever you go, whatever area of practice you pursue, you can help make the law more just and your own experience more rewarding by infusing your whole self into your work. So with that, I give you my leave. I will end where I started. You are all extraordinary. Best of luck. Congratulations.
Mr. Bragg. Presented to Alvin Bragg Jr. in appreciation for the address delivered to the Rutgers Law School class of 2022. We will now proceed to recognize graduates who have received prizes and awards. But before I turn the podium over to Professor Ron Chen, it is my distinct honor to recognize Newark Campus's 2022 Professor of the Year, Professor Brandon Paradise. Congratulations, Brandon. I am now pleased to call upon Professor Ronald Chen, Chair of the Committee on Scholastic Standing, who, on behalf of the committee and the faculty as a whole, will announce the graduation prizes and awards. Professor Chen.
Good morning. One of the proudest and most honored traditions of the legal profession is to provide pro bono service for those who are otherwise unable to access the legal system. We would therefore, actually not first, due to Argenta's intervention, but it certainly behooves us to recognize again those students who at the outset of their legal careers have, in accordance with that tradition, volunteered their time in legal-related activity in addition to meeting their academic commitments while still students at Rutgers School of Law in Newark. Therefore, would each graduate who has completed at least 50 hours of pro bono service while a student at the law school Please stand and be recognized for your commitment to volunteerism and making access to the justice system possible for all. Should be just about. Thank you. Please be seated. It now gives me great pleasure to announce the academic prizes and awards for the class of 2022, as determined by the Scholastic Standing Committee on behalf of and in consultation with the faculty of the School of Law. As each name is announced, I ask that the recipient rise briefly. The Justice Henry Ackerson Jr. Prize, donated by Justice Ackerson and, since his death in 1970, continued by the Law School Alumni Association in recognition of his unique contribution to the school, is given to the most distinguished student in the area of legal skills. This year, the prize goes to Leah Dice. The Rutgers Law School Award for Excellence in Health Law is awarded to honor superior academic performance in the area of health law. This year, the prize goes to Shannon Cohal. The Rutgers Law School Award for Excellence in Intellectual Property Law is awarded to the student with the highest achievement in intellectual property law. The prize is awarded this year to Kirar Venkataramani. The Rutgers Law School Award for Excellence in Labor and Employment Law is awarded to the student demonstrating the highest achievement in the fields of labor and employment law. This year, the prize goes to Eric Moreno. The American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers Award, given to the student who has shown the most aptitude in family law, is awarded with pleasure this year to Shelby Mitchell. Established by our recently departed and beloved colleague, Professor Frank Askin, class of '66, and his partner and longtime adjunct lecturer, Marilyn Askin, class of '70, the Frank and Marilyn Askin Award for Excellence in Clinical Studies is awarded by the law school clinical faculty to the student who, over the course of their legal education, has demonstrated an extraordinary commitment to the clients of the Rutgers Law School clinics and to the principles and values of clinical legal education. This year's prize goes to two outstanding clinical students, Taylor Lodis and Ruth Claire Paglioni. Created in memory of our much beloved late colleague, the Professor Alan Axelrod Prize is given to the student who most excelled in the area of commercial law. This year, the prize is offered to Suhani Patel. The American Bankruptcy Institute Medal of Excellence is given to the student who has most excelled in the area of bankruptcy studies. This year, the prize goes to Cyan Perry. It's established to honor the memory of a distinguished member of our faculty. The Professor Charles Davenport Prize in Tax Law is awarded to the member of the graduating class having the best grades and highest achievement in tax law. This year, the Davenport Prize is awarded to Terrence Brennan. The Morris Gann Prize in Evidence is offered to the member of the graduating class having the best grades and highest achievement in evidence. This year's prize goes to Matthew Grillo. The Judge Leonard I. Garth Advocacy Award, created by his law clerks to honor the late United States Circuit Judge, adjunct professor, and mentor to generations of lawyers, including this one, goes to the student who most excels in appellate advocacy. This year, the award is given with pleasure to Soumya Vachampayan. The Myron Harkavy Prize is awarded each year to the member of the graduating class who shows the most promise as a trial lawyer. This year, the prize is awarded to George Morton. The Chief Justice Richard Hughes Prize, honoring the late Governor and Chief Justice and alumnus of this law school, is offered to the member of the graduating class having the best record in New Jersey practice. The prize is awarded this year to two students, Griselda Hodaj and Shelby Mitchell. The Professor Eli Jarmel Memorial Prize is offered to the member of the graduating class who has demonstrated the greatest interest and proficiency in public interest law. The prize is awarded with pleasure this year to two students, Casey Murphy and Amanda Soutner. The Menlowitz Family Fund Prize is offered for outstanding and distinguished work in law and humanities. The award is given this year to Krista Hartram. The G.A. Moore Prize is offered to the member of the graduating class who has done the most distinguished work in employment discrimination law. The prize is awarded this year to Erin Sweeney. The National Association of Women Lawyers Award is given to the member of the graduating class who has demonstrated the greatest commitment to women's issues. The prize is awarded with pleasure this year to Sienna Carnivali. The Carol Russ Memorial Prize is offered to the member of the graduating class who has done the most for the promotion of women's rights through the law. The prize is awarded this year to Sarah Frey. The Sarah Ramcharitar Memorial Award is given to a law school student for excellence in work on behalf of the underprivileged, particularly women, children, and families. This year, the prize is given to two committed students, Alessandra Perez and Carly Sutera. The student with the highest grades in courses in property and related topics receives the H. Theodore Sorg Property Prize. This year, the prize is given with pleasure to Moojin Liu. The Outstanding Clinical Team Award is presented by the Clinical Legal Education Association to members of the graduating class as a team based on their collective high quality of representation provided to clients. This year's award recognizes two students who work together as immigrant rights fellows, Irma Calderon and Joseph Lin. The Rutgers Law School Faculty Scholarship and Leadership Award is awarded to the student who has demonstrated excellence in the combination of scholarship and leadership. This year, the award is given with pride to Shannon Cohal. Rutgers Law School in Newark has established several awards to be given to outstanding law students on the basis of scholarly achievement in various fields of law as nominated by the faculty. The faculty has awarded these prizes this year as follows. The Rutgers Outstanding Scholastic Achievement Award for Best Student Note, Comment, or Scholarly Paper goes to two student scholars. For his Rutgers University Law Review note on executive commandeering, how delegation to the executive branch affects state sovereignty, Jonathan Ned Terrace. And for his article on Canadian litigation for violations of customary international law, recently published in the University of Toronto Faculty of Law Review, Jeremy Zullo. The Rutgers Outstanding Scholastic Achievement Award for Administrative Law goes to Jonathan Ned Terrace. The Outstanding Scholastic Achievement Award for Antitrust Law goes to Matthew Grillo. The Outstanding Scholastic Achievement Award for Business and Corporate Law goes to Amani Taha. The Rutgers Outstanding Scholastic Achievement Award for Environmental Law goes to Jesse Little. One more time, the Rutgers Outstanding Scholastic Achievement Award for Federal Courts goes to Jonathan Ned Terrace. Two students are recognized with the Rutgers Outstanding Scholastic Achievement Award for International Human Rights Law, Olga Astasiuk and Faith Tan. The Anthony Engelbrecht Prize is awarded annually to the student receiving the highest scholastic average during the final year in law school. The Engelbrecht Prize this year goes to John Jack Burns. The Philip Kravitz Memorial Prize is awarded to the student who, having spent a majority of semesters in residence as a part-time student, has attained the highest general academic average. The winner of the Kravitz Prize this year is Erin Sweeney. Two awards, the Saul Tischler Memorial Prize and the A. Harry Moore Prize, are given to the student who has attained the highest academic average during the entire course of legal study. This year's outstanding winner is John Jack Burns. The J. Skelly Wright Prize is given annually to the member of the graduating class who has contributed the most to the civil rights, civil liberties, and human affairs of fellow citizens during the 3 years of law school. The award is given this year with great pleasure to Faith Tan. And finally, the Alumni Senior Prize is bestowed by the faculty upon the graduating student exhibiting the greatest achievement during the entire law school program and showing the greatest promise as a future member of the legal profession. With great pride, the Alumni Senior Prize is awarded to two outstanding students, John Jack Burns and Jeremy Zullo. Please join us in congratulating all the award and prize recipients. Finally, as the graduates receive their degrees today, some will be announced as having earned their degrees cum laude, magna cum laude, or summa cum laude, which constitutes the top 20, the top 10, and top 3% of the class respectively, as judged across all graduates from both locations in Camden and Newark. Some will be further recognized as being inducted into the Order of the Coif. The Order of the Coif is an honorary scholastic society, the purpose of which is to encourage excellence in legal education by fostering a spirit of careful study, by recognizing those who as law students attained a high grade of scholarship, and by honoring those who as lawyers, judges, and teachers attained high distinction for their scholarly or professional accomplishments. Of the 205 American law schools, 86 have been granted a charter to establish a Coif chapter. In 1991, Rutgers Newark was the first New Jersey law school to establish a Coif chapter, and in 2018, a new charter was issued to Rutgers Law School as a whole. Individual membership in the Order of the Coif may be conferred upon graduates of member schools who rank in the top 10% of the class. This concludes the awards and prizes ceremony. Congratulations to all award winners.
Thank you, Professor Chen. And now, without further ado, we will proceed with the conferral of degrees and presentation of graduates. I'm going to take Dean's prerogative and take a picture of you. And forgive me, colleagues, I'm going to take a selfie. Thank you. It is now my honor and great pleasure to confer the degrees on the class of 2022. Will the degree candidates please rise? Okay. Upon the recommendation of the faculty of Rutgers Law School, and by virtue of the authority granted to me by the boards of governors and trustees of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, I confer on each of you the degree of Juris Doctor, with all the rights, privileges, obligations, and immunities appertaining thereto here and elsewhere. I am now pleased to call upon the stage Vice Dean Andrew Gupta, who will present the graduates on behalf of the faculty. Dean Gupta will announce the graduates along with Latin honors and certificates that they received at graduation. Dean Sarah Regina and Caroline Young will assist Dean Gupta in welcoming and presenting our graduates. Professors Doug Eakley and Sabrina Safran will bestow the hood of the Juris Doctor degree upon the graduates. Dean Knoll, would you please escort the graduates to the platform?
Fatima Abdel Salam. Alaric I. Abdul. Zaid Abdullah. Carly R. Abrams. Ryan R. Ackerman. Malka Alpert. Magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. Riham Alzabi, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Marlene M. Arabia, cum laude. Hannah Argol. Brandon E. Arias, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Bailey J. Arnett. Samantha Arnold, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. Walter Atencio. Tyler D. Avon. Layla Z. Awan. Attila Azami. Jennifer Bawa. Jessica H. Bach, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Hakeem S. Bajwa. Zina Balcazar. Rachel M. Bauer, summa cum laude, Order of the Coif, and graduating with a certificate in criminal law and procedure. Bruce Beckman. Allison M. Berdichevsky, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Jessica Buth. Kevin Biglin. Kelly L. Blair. Justin D. Bose, cum laude. Victoria Borriello, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. Micah Bowden. Terrence F. Brennan, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif, and graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Ryan Budzek. Kit E. Burnett. Ryan A. Bush. Kashif S. Butt. John F. Burns, summa cum laude, Order of the Coif. Maxwell D. Kahn. Irma E. Calderon, cum laude, and graduating with a certificate in immigration law. Gianni Kahlo. Sienna Carnival, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. Shanti A. Carter Renee. Akansha Chandra, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. Christopher M. Chapman. Wendy D. Choi, cum laude. Paul G. Chikrala. Andrew L. Coder, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Shannon K. Kohal. Rachel R. Cohen, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Alexandra Comella, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Marianne Corcione, summa cum laude, Order of the Coif. Samuel Cousin. Bernadette L. Darcy, summa cum laude, Order of the Coif. Jessica Aqua Inketia Darfour. Tristan M. Devantes. Deanna I. Davis, cum laude. Jordan A. Davis, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Nicole Del Maro, cum laude. Jimlise DeRosier. Christopher Dombakely. Alexandra M. Dominguez. Sotirios Dulin. Kiana E. Duncan. Leah K. Dice, cum laude. Nicoletta K. Ebby, graduating with a certificate in criminal law and procedure. Andrew G. Edmondson. Michael J. Engelson. Brooke Enners. Mary Pham. Lucas F. Faria, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. Sarah L. Fry. Scott C. Frezzo. Gregory J. Getrajman. Yasmin K. Ghanem, graduating with a certificate in family law. Arya R. Gesaminijad. Kyle Gornick. Sean P. Glory. Amanda I. Gonzalez, cum laude. Mika L. Green. Matthew J. Grillo, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. Maya B. Haggard. Kristen S. Hamilton. Krista N. Hartram, summa cum laude, Order of the Coif. Yusra Hoyt, cum laude. Alexander Nkeo. Kyle Inverso. Sabin Jackson. Shireen C. James. Got it. Edward Jeragian, Jr. Patrick Johnson, graduating with a certificate in immigration law. Michael Jones. Rosvalda Julcius. Argenta Caba. Nino Kakauritse. Graduating with a certificate in immigration law. Justina Carbars, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Thomas M. Kellerman, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Connor W. Kennedy. Girer E. Korosian. Kyle J. Kilkenny. Marissa N. Kinberg. Ann S. Lee. Dong Chan Lee, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Paulina E. Lengel. Joseph F. Lin, graduating with a certificate in immigration law. Jesse J. Little, cum laude. Mujin Liu, cum laude. Thomas R. Lloyd. Taylor C. Lodis, cum laude. Jenna N. Lofaro, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Alonso Laredo. Rebecca Lundgren, cum laude. Michael P. Lynch, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. David Mathiasen. Megan McMullen. Samantha J. Malloy, graduating with a certificate in criminal law and procedure. Amanda M. Malul. Alexa L. Martin. Jamel Martin. Fred P. Mason. Ole Matviishin, cum laude. Holly A. Maynard, cum laude. Brian R. Medina. Nikki A. Memelar. Emily M. Menendez. Danielle Menz. Shelby E. Mitchell, graduating with certificates in criminal law and procedure and family law. Sheen Molman, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Duncan K. Montague. Ileani M. Montas. Eric Moreno, cum laude, and graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. George E. Morton III. Tamel N. Morton. Hanmi Na. Isaac S. Narayan, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Andrew J. Nastashkin. John J. O'Reilly. Connor C. O'Shaughnessy, cum laude. Andrew G. Morrow. Casey Murphy. Olga Ostasuk. Alexandra R. Astuni. Sarah A. Paco. Suhani J. Patel. Alessandra Perez. Melissa Perez, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Cyan A. Perry, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. Davin K. Prasad. Anna D. Petrie. Thomas R. Pettingill. Joseph Piccarello. Robert G. Platvoet. Lucky Potter. Ruth Claire Polioni, summa cum laude, Order of the Coif. Jalen D. Porter. Christina Louise Portizzi. Allison J. Price. Erica P. Puckett. Nadira Rahman. Aaron Raynone. Gina Riccardi, cum laude, and graduating with a certificate in immigration law. Vincent L. Rimanelli. Casey L. Rogers. Danielle Roman. Abraham S. Rosenwasser. Graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Daniel E. Rossi. Meredith S. Rubin, cum laude. Joseph P. Ruoko. Jake T. Russo, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Alexander Sanchez. Eduardo Sanchez. Olivia C. Sanchez. Gianna R. Sanguinetti. Courtney R. Sauer. Amanda L. Sotner, graduating with certificates in family law and immigration law. Christopher Ciandra. Adelhaya Sedinovich. Leanne Secular. Jackson J. Shaw. Sarah Simon, graduating with a certificate in criminal law and procedure. Akam K. Singh, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Julia R. Sirazi. Anthony F. Siriani, Jr. John W. Stevenson. Christina G. Stewart, cum laude. Stacy Strand. Yarissa Subervi, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. Carly A. Sutera. Rohan Suvarna. Aaron P. Sweeney, summa cum laude, Order of the Coif, and graduating with a certificate in immigration law. Amani Z. Taha, cum laude. Faith J. Tan, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. Ned Terrace, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. Matthew J. Kachuk, magna cum laude, Order of the Coif. Nicole E. Tomic, graduating with a certificate in family law. Michael P. Tong. Somya Veshampayam, summa cum laude, Order of the Coif. Alexander M. Valdez. Tanvi Valsangikar. Andrew Vandini, cum laude. Kedar Venkataramani, cum laude. Bethany C. Ventola. Isaac M. Vinpa. Gifty D. Vrumino. Elizabeth Widruff. Joshua L. Wizarak, cum laude, and graduating with a certificate in criminal law and procedure. Elton Yee. Jake A. Yellen. Saeed U. Youssef. Gregory Youssef. Rebecca Zborowski. Joyce P. Zellin. graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Daniel N. Zhang, graduating with a certificate in corporate and business law. Jeremy Zolo, summa cum laude, Order of the Coif. Griselda Hodoy. Hodoy. Congratulations, class of 2022.
He didn't get to take a picture because we couldn't find his thing. Okay. Could you just tell him that his diploma's here, you think? Like on the mic? Yeah. Okay. I feel like it's a moment.
Okay, so we have a few graduates whose names I'm going to read who are not here today. But before we do that, David Mathiasen, could you come back to the stage and take your photo and get your diploma? So the other graduates are Damon V. Tragny, Michael P. Mullaney, Brian Andrew Chisari, and Ryan Nicholas Brinkeroff.
Congratulations again, the class of 2022. Now that you're graduates, I will soon be asking you for money. But before I do that, let me introduce you and invite to the podium Naomi Baraclow, who's the president of the Law School Alumni Association, to come up to the podium and say a few words to the class of 2022.
Good afternoon, Dean Cuisin-Villazor, distinguished faculty, graduates, and family. My name's Naomi Baraclow. I am a 2010 graduate of Rutgers Law in Newark. And as president of the Rutgers School of Law Newark Alumni Association, it is my pleasure and privilege to officially welcome you, the class of 2022, into the Rutgers Law alumni family. Congratulations. Now, I do realize I'm the last speaker between you and your families really starting your celebration, so I will make this very brief. Thinking back to my law school years at Rutgers Newark, I can honestly say that I loved my time there. I made incredibly smart, down-to-earth friends. I was challenged in the classroom and in small study groups. And since graduating, I've enjoyed a supportive, close, and ever-expanding relationship with my fellow alumni, a network of which you are now a part. Your graduating classes had a unique law school experience, as has been discussed today. You not only had to wrestle with the law, as we all had to do, you had to do so in a virtual environment with all of the challenges and distractions that come with working and studying remotely during a global pandemic. Each of you has exhibited a tremendous amount of resilience and dedication to your goals, and for that, each of you should be extremely proud. Now, as many of you may have already discovered, law school doesn't teach you everything you need to know about becoming a practicing attorney, but it does teach you how to think like a lawyer, a gift that will be met with varying degrees of awe and annoyance depending on who you're talking to. The great thing about this, of course, is that your law degree and the ability to think like a lawyer will serve you no matter where your career takes you. This past October, we held our annual Alumni Recognition Gala, where we honored 3 distinguished graduates of Rutgers Newark. President of the New York Jets, Jaime Elhai, civil rights attorney and activist Charles Victor McTeer, and former municipal court judge and criminal justice professor, the Honorable Victoria Pratt. This year, we are honoring the Honorable Zahid Qureshi, the first Muslim American federal judge in U.S. history, George McPhee, president of the NHL team, the Vegas Golden Knights, and Jean Locicero, legal director of the ACLU, New Jersey. Each of these distinguished alumni had very different career paths, as you might imagine, and so will each of you. Some of you will start off at law firms, others in the public sector, and still others in-house at a nonprofit or in a business role. But wherever you go, you'll find that it pays to stay connected. You never know where a conversation will lead, what opportunities might be presented, or what connections a person has that could help you today, or that you have that could help them down the line. Indeed, seated in this very room at this very moment are the judges and justices, prosecutors and attorneys general, chief in-house counsels, and law firm managing partners of tomorrow. So my advice to each of you today is don't wait to get involved. If you haven't already, start expanding your professional network now through your alumni association, give back by mentoring a current law student, and don't be afraid to email a Rutgers alum you admire to ask about their career and how they got there. We have been in your shoes, we have navigated our early legal careers with the help and guidance from fellow alumni, and we are here to help you become as successful as you want to be, because your success is truly our success. So please, when you get your invitation to our annual alumni gala, this year on November 1st, or see a social media post about our annual golf outing on June 8th, or a Seton Hall Rutgers basketball game, I urge you to attend and stay connected with your fellow graduates here today and to reconnect with classmates and alumni past and present. Our alumni network is vast and has a place for everyone, no matter your practice areas, backgrounds, or interests. So with that said, congratulations again. Welcome to the Rutgers Law alumni community. We are proud of what you have accomplished as law students, excited for all that you will accomplish as lawyers or wherever your career takes you, and as your alumni network, we are here to support you all along the way. So thank you and congratulations.
It is our tradition to administer to these new law school graduates the oath of professionalism. But before I do that, I would be remiss if I do not recognize the efforts of so many people who helped to make this event possible. The following did heroic things to ensure that we are here to celebrate in person and safely and with much joy. Gina Davila, Dean David Knoll, Dean Anju Gupta, Dean Caroline Young, Dean Linda Garbascio, Ms. Trish Brown, Ms. Jeannie Caputo, Ms. Diane Philippone, Ms. Mildred Perez, and Ms. Mimi Moore. Thank you also to the many volunteers who helped us today. Could you please stand? I also invite any member of the bar present in the audience to rise and recite the oath along with our new colleagues as a reaffirmation of our commitment to maintaining the honor of our profession. Raise your right hand, please. In accepting the honor and responsibility of life in the profession of law, I will strive as best as I can to conduct myself with dignity, courtesy, and integrity, to treat all persons with fairness, civility, respect, and honesty, to work always with care, with a whole heart and in good faith, to promote inclusiveness in and equal access to the judicial system, bar associations, and the legal field, and to serve, protect, and promote the fair and impartial administration of justice. This concludes the convocation ceremony. Congratulations. During the recessional, may I ask all members of the audience to remain in their seats until the platform party and the graduates have left the hall. After you all reconnect with your families and friends outside this hall, a reception will follow at the law school. Professor Chen, will you please lead us in the recessional?